Starting your day at 5 a.m. does not make you more productive. For 85% of the adult population, that early start will kill your productivity. In today's episode, I'm going to share why the power of the 5 a.m. start is a myth. Want to know the best time to start your day? It's all about working with your body, not against it. Let's begin, shall we? Well, hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Project Joyful podcast. I'm your host, Tracy, your medical herbalist and high performance coach. So, hey, Project Joyful isn't just about being happy. It's about consciously creating a life you love. It's about remembering how to reconnect with your soul-centered joy. You know, that joy that comes from doing what you love, from living on purpose, and from being in a life that allows you to experience deep joy moment by moment. So hey, let's get started, shall we? You know the saying that says it's the early bird who gets the worm? But what if getting the worm leaves you with brain fog for the rest of the day? What about the worms that aren't early worms? Could the late bird get the late worms? And by rising late, did the late worms miss the early bird and live to rise late another day? As an entrepreneur, I'm always on the lookout for the latest research that will give me the edge. For years, I'd be that early bird. One time, I was taking a step class at 6:30 in the morning. I toddled away from my step to fill my water bottle. I arrived back at my step and resumed my leaping up and over the step. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a fellow stepper looking slightly amused. You see, I was stepping on her step. Half an hour into the class and an hour and a half hours since I'd woken up, and I was still befuddled. I read the 5 a.m. Club, loved it, implemented it, felt consistently out of whack the whole day through. Not even a remote possibility of catching the worm in that state. Now, don't get me wrong. I love that feeling of all that stuff off your plate and it's only 11 a.m. because I've been working for 5 hours. But the fact is that it's not effortless. I'm not in the flow. I'm foggy. Regardless of my nutrition, movement, and supplement protocols, that's how I feel. According to clinical psychologist and author of The Power of When, my chronotype is characterized as the bear. What's a chronotype? It's when you're naturally more alert or when you prefer to sleep. You may have also heard it discussed in relation to your circadian rhythm. So we used to classify these chronotypes as the lark, the hummingbird, and the owl. The lark were our early risers. They got to bed earlier than their hummingbird and owl friends, and they tend to be more productive in the morning or early in the afternoon. Our stay-up lates were called owls. They woke up later and went to bed later, and were most productive early in the evening. And our hummingbirds were neither larks nor owls. We now believe that there are 4 chronotypes, and they have new power animals. Around 15% of our adult population are lions. They rise early and are most productive before midday. They're usually in bed by 9 or 10 p.m. Around 55% of our adult population are bears. They rake around 7 a.m. and they're in bed by 11 p.m. and they're most productive around midday. Wolves make up 15 to 20% of the adult population and they do their best at night and struggle to get up before 9 a.m. For them, bedtime's usually around midnight and their productivity peaks between 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. And around 10% of our adult population are dolphins. They've always got one eye open. They don't have a set schedule, but are generally most productive between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. You see, creating your most productive life rests on you working with your body. Don't start your day at 5 a.m. because you read you should. Work with your own rhythm. Do what's best for you. So, I'm like 55% of our global population. My chronotype is the bear. So I'm a 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. kind of girl. I'm most focused around midday, and no, not because it's lunchtime. Starting at 5 a.m. is simply messing with my circadian rhythm, and it's making life harder than it needs to be. Now, this wasn't a complete surprise, as I had spent some time mapping my focus points. I learnt this from Charlie Gilkey at Productive Flourishing. It's where you map when you are most energized or most alert throughout the day. You can check out my heat map at projectjoyful.com. To make your own heat map, you simply measure on a scale from 1 to 5 every hour. 1 is when you're not focused at all, and 5 is you're hyper-focused and killing it. Do this for a week or two so that you can see a trend across those days. Remember last week when I talked about the Pomodoro technique? Well, applying the Pomodoro technique to your most focused time makes your productivity go to a whole new level. You see, you don't need to work until your eyeballs bleed and consume your life in the side hustle. You just need to be strategic. Being strategic means working in a way that's aligned with who you authentically are. Create a lifestyle from your work. Work when you're most productive. Spend time in silence, getting really clear about what you want your life to be about. Let me ask you a question. If you only had 6 months of quality time left in this life, what would you do with it? Do you do that now? If you don't, what's getting in the way of making that happen? Part of going with the flow instead of constantly fighting the current is about getting to know yourself even better. What's your natural sleep cycle? How can you support your mind, body, and spirit to enjoy that on a consistent basis? What's your natural day or circadian rhythm? How can you tweak your day to be more in harmony with that? Now, if you have a corporate job, this is about blocking out your most focused time for critical thinking. Educate your team so they know this is non-interruptible time and it's not negotiable. Get buy-in from your manager by supporting him or her to do the same. You'll be better prepared for meetings if you have given yourself time to prepare by considering the ideal outcome and what you need to get there. And yes, connecting with colleagues is still a valued outcome. Not sure of the meeting's outcome? Well, then the question is, do you really need that meeting? Understanding your individual rhythm also helps you schedule workout times that maximize the intended outcome and minimize the risk of injury. You see, living a joyful, successful life is about designing and living a life that serves you. If you're a lark or a dolphin chronotype, 5 a.m. start time may be the best time to start your day. But if you're not, create a life that fits who you are and that supports you in being your best version of you. Sending you lots of love. Bye for now. Hey, thanks for listening to today's podcast. Can I ask you a favour? If our conversation spoke to you today, could you please take a moment to leave a 5-star review? Your review will help people discover this podcast, and together we can create a world where there's even more love and more laughter. And if you want to hear more from the Project Joyful podcast, just click the subscribe button. Bye for now.